That was enough of the intro.
Hello, good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
I thought I had set it to live like 2 minutes ago. That's okay. It's not a problem. It's all right. Just kind of, gets everyone juiced up, gets everyone in here, which is always helpful. Oh, we got stuff today. Dom, it's Thursday. I'm at home right now, which I'm grateful for because I usually have to go into the city. Did not have to go in the city today. Didn't have to be there, but we usually split time here with work, Lauren and I. So I feel I'm grateful I can be here. So it's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely helps just a bit. What's today looking like for you, friend?
So today is looking like a busy day. I went home last night. I hadn't been home yet, so Amy was like, "Look," and we talked about this. I really want you home. I don't like that you're spending so many nights. So like, you got to come home. And I said, "Look, I need to come home. I ordered something. It's supposed to be at the house Wednesday, so I'll come Wednesday instead of Tuesday." She's like, "Well, that's not cool. It sounds like you're still prioritizing work over us because you're just coming home to get this thing that you need." So I'm like, got it. Like we had a whole conversation about it, like me sticking to the regimen that we had originally discussed. So I came home last night. I came home early. Like I was incredibly productive yesterday. Tried my hardest to stay focused at work and stay off of, the social platforms. Came home early and it was like kind of like a little bit of a meltdown in the family. Like there was a dentist appointment that went poorly with
Okay.
the kids. Teenager had a late night thing to go to. So anyways, we got last night all handled, and then today is going to be the same thing, is like really plugging in, getting work done. I have two really late or afternoon meetings, which I don't like because when meetings run too long at the end of the day, I don't have the time and space to kind of like download properly. So I tend to see myself, and especially going into a Friday at home, I tend to basically like forget what happened at the meeting and not do any follow-up. So I don't know, I'm in for a potentially well done day or disastrous day. We'll see.
What's
But
one
going
thing?
into a Friday, a short week next week,
Yeah,
big holiday week, it's always fun. Kids are off school all week.
we got Office Blaze. Office Blaze is just in the
Hey,
moment.
Good morning, guys. Can you hear me?
I know, Scuba. I think I'm looking into. I don't know if anybody has this, but I got this ad for this little device that records your conversation and drops it into AI and does all this stuff. So I was looking into it, and I was going to reach out and see if anyone had an experience with it, because it's been something that I've been thinking about for a long time, and I just saw it. So
Is
I
that
saw
the
that
little
too.
capsule that goes around your neck?
yeah, I saw that version of it too, just rocking the hey, it's out there necklace, versus they have one that's like the size of looks like a size of a thicker credit card that you'd put in like a shirt pocket. I don't wear shirts with pockets, so I'd have to buy shirts with pockets.
I'm always wondering, when I'm lecturing, should I wear something like that so students can listen to lectures after class? I don't know.
Does thinking about that, does that take the accountability off of the student? Or obviously it's to help them, but is there anything else you feel like it's giving them more tools than they need? They should be doing it themselves?
I don't know. I think it's a really good question, because if I think about when I was in school, and if there was videotaped lectures, I'm like, why would I go to class? But I know that excuse me, Zoe, shut up. I'm sorry. The Wet Bandits came out. I'm sorry. It's not the Wet Bandits, but they're finally fixing the siding of our house that our house almost burnt out last year. So there you go.
Oh no.
Makes
So you got
sense.
workers and she's freaking out.
Yeah, she's a good house mom, you know.
I love that part of my job because I love dogs and I just love clients' reactions to me like coming into their house and like, you know, like, oh, are you okay with dogs? And I'm like, dude, I'll just sit here all day and play with your dog if you want. But yeah, they do not like the workers on the outside of their house.
No. So hopefully knocking that out. But back with like the thing, because then students, I think, are less likely to come to class. But the big thing, at least in nursing academia, is having a lot more engaging conversations and activities. And it's like, if you don't come to class, you're not going to have these activities and stuff like that.
Are your students pretty good at taking notes? I was always horrible taking notes. It was never my thing. So there was one year I was in biology, one of my favorite teachers ever. I would like draw all of my notes. I don't know how I did it, but to this day I'm like, that was pretty good. I'm usually not pretty good with it. Hey guys, we're talking about courage today.
We are
talking all about courage here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can I ask a question? This is a good, like, whether we call it question of the day or we call it question of the moment. I posted this and I was curious because I think that it got me thinking about where I've placed a priority in certain things, especially with my kids. But it was making me think about where I've kind of stepped up for my kids and needed to really take on courage. Oh, there's two. I can bring up two right now. But today's meditation, it was just reminding, I think, everything about kind of how we need to be courageous. But I want to have you think about the time. Was there a time that you did step up and it did surprise you that you had to step up, or that you did the way that you did? And what did you learn about that? Did you guys put yourself in a difficult moment for your kids? What do you think?
I mean, a minor version of it was, last night, just, getting home early, sitting, hanging out, dealing with some, tense moments. And then when all the dust finally settled and it was kind of like we're in like the bedtime routine, Bailey was already in bed. Amy and Bentley were in bed. It was just me and Brooklyn downstairs, which is usually how it is. And we're usually just relaxing, chilling on our devices. Amy comes down and she's like, I just got an email. You have a practice test due tomorrow. Did you do it? And Brooklyn's like, deer in the headlights. And so, she goes and sits on the table to do her homework. And then all of a sudden I hear, Dad, can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, let's look at it. And like, there was so much to do. And it's like winding down to like the Dominic's energy levels, like decreasing hour of the day. And I had a 4 a.m. start this morning. So, but I just knuckled through it, like as sleep deprived as I was. And then at one point, she gets to the point where she's done and she flips it over and she goes, oh yeah, there's a backside. And I'm like, but we knuckled it out. Still got to bed before 10 o'clock, which like for me, like, I think, I think about it in like, only 6 hours of sleep. How well am I going to run the next day? But yeah, we got it done.
How was 6 hours of sleep for you? Is it a pretty good amount of time?
I mean, I like 7. I like 7 minimum, but I was fine this morning. The drive was not bad. Like, cause I've had it where it's been in the 6 and 5 and the drive's been pretty bad, where I've like caught myself like almost falling asleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good. I'm energized. I think it was all the Tim Tams I had last night.
Is that from Nate?
Yeah, I got Nate's package last night. Got some Tim Tams.
Beautiful.
It was good. It's delicious. It was fun.
Well, for anyone who's feeling underslept, don't sleep on creatine, by the way. Too much research out there right now to show an underslept brain is benefiting from creatine. But that is neither here nor there for the moment of courage. When did you step up last, please? When was the last time you had to step up for your kids? Did you just raise your hand?
Yeah. Do I need to drink more water if I start taking creatine again?
Yeah, but you should be drinking a lot of water if you're taking more fiber too, so that'll be good.
Oh man, I need to get my
You should
life
just be
together.
drinking a lot of water if you're living.
I lost my favorite water bottle, and so I haven't been drinking as much water. So I need to figure out my life.
That's your biggest issue. You're good, man.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out.
I'll send you one.
I had this really nice Lululemon one, and it had a VeeDads sticker on it. And I don't know where it went. I'm hoping another dad picked it up, but I don't think they did. I don't know. I'm always trying to figure out how I can step up for my kids. Like, I'm trying to think like what parts of parenting like scare me, and it's probably like there's always new things that I want to introduce to my kids. Like, I'm really trying to go and like take them to the woods and go on some nature walks. And it's a little chilly outside, so you gotta put your boots on, your coats. And I think the youngest one would be like, "Yeah, let's go." And then the middle one, like, it would take some coaxing, and coaxing, and he'd always be like, he'll probably be like, "Daddy, I have a question." And I'll have to answer 50 questions, which is fine. But then I could see the 8-year-old being like, "I'm really busy. I have to like organize my room and do all these things." And then like it'd really have to like drag her out the door. I think for me, I have to be more courageous with just like getting them all together and doing stuff. Because I think I'm pretty vocal about how I love my kids a lot. I enjoy more with my kids one-on-one versus them all together, but they need to learn to like function and not kill each other when we're doing family stuff. So
it's tough.
I think I like your example best, just because I think that it's a good reminder that when we talk about courage, it's not really that like loud or like really bold kind of thing that we have to like think about. Like, we're not stepping up to run a marathon because our kid is going to look at us with some like starry eyes, right? It's not that kind of thing. But I think it's just showing up when it's hard. And so that getting the kids together, I think, is a hard thing, right? And that's like, again, it's not a huge thing in the world, but it can make a really big impact. I think about how, stepping up and being courageous, and almost sounds silly, I guess, in my mind, because I'm like, does that really take a lot of courage? I don't know, but it does. I feel like, I always tell my girls that, mom is the really social one, dad isn't as social sometimes. And so when like Lauren's out of town, it takes a lot for me to, text my girls, like friends' parents, to like schedule something and then kind of get out and go do it. And it's more just because like I know in my mind, like I have so many thoughts in my head that I feel like getting together with like parents, now I have to like displace that for a second, put that to the side, and it's just hard for me. But like that is showing up. I feel like that is a moment of my life where showing up for at least my oldest, is something I have to do. Other times with my 3-year-old, soon to be 4-year-old, I think I just have to show up and be courageous and just fight her back sometimes. So that's just where that is. She's a tough one. So, but yeah, no, it's definitely not some of those big moments there. But I think it does kind of bring me to some gratitude. I know we kind of skipped over a little bit, but I'd like to try to tie these gratitudes back to the reading in some kind of way. But I think just grateful for some of those moments where I know I've had to step out of my comfort zone, as a dad, as a person, whatever it's going to be. But I think like having tough conversations, right? I think being present when it's like hard to be, putting the phone down, not wanting to get on stream or like see something on Whatnot, all that kind of stuff too, right? I think it's those moments that, stay with me a little bit longer. And I think it reminds me, like when it's hard, of why the role as a parent, as a dad, is just so important. So that's a little bit where my gratitude is today.
For my gratitude, I had my last evening clinical for the year last night, so I don't have to do any evenings, at least until next year. So I'm just happy to have knocked that out. So I'll have more time to just live my life, spend with my kids, focus on my health, and work on some other work stuff too. And I think you bring up a really good point about like the fear, because like what's fear in my own life? I think fear in my own life is like having these tough conversations with a friend, having these tough conversations at work, sacrificing some of my time to do like better things, like eat a bunch of fruit and eat a bunch of vegetables. And I think that takes like bravery and courage to like just change your routine. Whereas with your kids, like it's so much different. Like confronting, I don't know, I'm trying to think. I don't want to say like confronting another parent or a teacher about your own kid, but like advocating for your kid, I think can be hard sometimes. But like, I think I'm always more likely to advocate for my kid than I'd advocate for myself, which is something to like unpack and think about. But that's my gratitude for today. Just getting more time.
Would you put a straw up your nose and try and suck snot out for yourself?
I mean, that's like, you know, a real fear that like people might have. I still don't think I'd probably figure something else out than sucking the boogers out of my kids' noses.
Well, I think this is the time of year for the what's the water thing pouring your nose and it kind of comes out the other side. What is that?
Oh,
The
something.
neti pot?
Yeah, the neti pot.
Neti pot. Obviously, that's what I would do instead of sucking my own boogers out. Of course.
Yeah.
Dom, where was your gratitude specifically today?
So mine was, I mean, it's centered around basically me and my wife having our conversation, and then me making the effort to come home, and then having the opportunity to step up and be there for my kid last night. So like, you know, she, especially because the practice tests, they grade themselves, so like they have the answers. So you know, we were able to figure out some stuff. She scored well. She showed me her project that I think I dropped in in one of the chats that you guys might have been in. I don't know if you guys are in the VPM chat, but a project on breaking barriers that she did. So she showed that to me. I was able to read it and look at it. So just have a lot of moments with Brooklyn, who's my kid that's struggling right now. And actually, prior to coming home, I had received a text from my wife that, you know, her grades updated today and that she finally doesn't have an F in any of her classes. So the grades have progressively been getting better because they've been working hard on them. So, and I had the opportunity to help last night. So that's where my gratitude is.
Well, okay, first of all, I think that's amazing. And let me say this, is that I think that...
and Tim Tams. Sorry, Nath. And Tim Tams for 100%. Goes without question.
We are being courageous to put down the Tim Tam, not finish the Tim Tam. But, if we're talking courage, talking about how we can teach our kids that, I think showing them that is one important. I think an important thing, too, is just like saying it out loud. You know, I couldn't do this. I wasn't thinking about doing this, but I'm doing it now. But teaching kids courage, back to you, Dom, here, is that I think that like really supportive environment, I think setting examples, seeing you do it, right? And encouraging, I think to overcome something about whether it's grades or something they can't really do. But I think that is developing courage in some kind of way. Because you also mentioned that it was an example of her overcoming something. Is that what you said?
I don't know that I said that.
Would you?
I mean, she just like,
what was the
grades.
point of overcoming? No, it didn't she had like an assignment she had to write about, right?
No, it was just a practice test.
Okay, never mind then. I thought you said something around like...
I think right now today's thing, which we talked a little bit about yesterday, and I was planning on it being within my morning text to her, was today she has to actually like present her project to her class, and she's really terrified of that. She's harboring a presentation last year, which was a completely different school and subject and whatever, where like she was made fun of. She's like, I don't want kids to make fun of me because I mess up this time. And I'm like, wow, okay. So she's running a lot of fears right now. So yeah, it's a good read after what I've been dealing with the last night and stuff like that. I wish I would have read it last night.
Yeah,
it's been very helpful.
Wait, so she was feeling she had presented something last year, and people were like making fun of her. They were poking fun at her.
Yeah, and so that's stuck with her, and now she's worried about the fact that she has to present something today, even though like the project that she did was really well done. And, you know, I told my wife, I'm like, did she do it or did you do it? She's like, no, I promise. Like, I sat there with her and I watched her and I like gave her advice, but like she did all of it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like, and it was the same thing with one of her projects last year. Like, I did the same thing with her. Like, I sat there, she did it, and she presented it. I thought she did a great job. She memorized, you know, a lot of stuff, but I don't know, man. Something's in there. Something's stuck in there. There's some sort of something.
Can I ask, you do presentations, right? Because you're putting together, like, for work, right?
Yeah, I have
You're
one
putting
today.
together. Oh, yes. Have you ever felt that same way? Have you ever felt like I doubt someone saw you and they like made fun of you as you were like presenting to them about their house. But like, is that something that
I do.
is a story that you could share with her?
I do have some time when I am a little worried or concerned, or I've had a couple of times where I've been thrown off during the presentation or in the meeting because, you know, there'll be a person that I, you know, didn't expect will be there. One time it was an infant that really threw me off. Like, the people, they brought their kid and their kid had a baby. It just throws me off because I want to just like interact with the baby, you know, like, and
Oh,
when the
sure.
baby's like, you know, like that kind of, like, I'm just very friendly to babies, but at the same time, like, I'm the one doing the talking, so the baby's staring at me. Just like it was a little bit of uncomfortable, but yeah.
What if you just started presenting this whole thing about, you know, putting someone's house together and you just start talking baby talk? I feel like it could work for everybody, right? You're getting the job done. You're talking to the baby. You're totally fine then. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely good. I think if anything, I was just thinking of a way for you to share a story with her. I just know that that's like what always, like, analogies and storytelling. It's the two things that I know that I end up liking to speak most in, and then I usually resonates with me. What did Nate say here? He said, Dom, maybe advise that if the kids are teasing, it's a reflection of their own insecurities. I think that is a great way to think about it.
We've discussed that a lot with, not a lot with her, but like a couple of times with her, just because, you know, that's obviously a thing that I've learned through, you know, Gary Vee and some other stuff is, you know, people that, you know, troll or spread hate, like there's something going on in them that they feel the need to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's still just hard to click in a, you know, preteen's brain.
Yeah. Blaze, are your kids having any trouble with that at all? Needing to like deal with kids making fun of them or anything?
No, the struggle that we're having in our house right now is with the older kids is just like thankfulness and gratitude. Like my kids have like such a blessed life. Like they're never gonna have to roll pennies for bread or anything like that. But there's been some issues coming up where another kid gets rewarded with something at school, and if they don't get that reward, they just like melt down. And so we've had some conversations with teachers a couple of times now this year where something happens at school and one of the children just like melts down, and it's over stuff that like my wife and I are like, if that happened to us, like who cares? But for some reason it's like really, really important to one of our children. So we're trying to navigate like, how do we grow this perspective for our kids that like, you have so many things that other kids just like don't have. And so then we're like having that conversation, like, have we made things too easy for some of our kids? Like, I think a lot about like, you can't beat a worm from the dirt. And so I think about like myself a lot, like in where I've come from, but then I think for my kids, like they're never going to have that struggle, but it's such an important life lesson. So like, what can I be doing as a parent to like open up that different perspective for my kids? So I think that's our biggest struggle right now that we're working on.
I want to, I know that Barack Obama, I think most people would look at him as like a good dad. His girls were in the spotlight for so long, right? He said that what makes a man is not the ability to have a child, but the courage to raise one. And
Yeah.
I think you're reminding me right now that like you could easily just be like, they're having a meltdown, whatever. Okay, kids, stop. Like but for you to actually be speaking with the teachers and figuring those things out, I think is pretty amazing. And whether you want to call it courage or not, I think it definitely is something about like how consistent you're showing up and like committing to showing up. I think in that way, because that's just a tough moment. So I always look up to you as such a great dad. And I think that's a great example of what you're doing right now.
Oh, thanks, man. I think the biggest thing I'm trying to fight it with right now is just like, I mean, I did it this morning. I don't do it every morning, but hopefully it's just like how we talk about gratitude every day. Can I have my kids say one or two things that they're gracious for or thankful for that happened yesterday? And then what's something to look forward to for today? So it doesn't matter if this other student gets a gold star and you didn't. Like, A, can we work on being happy for them? And B, look at the things in our life that, you know, like my daughter's going to see Wicked tonight. And it's like, not a lot of parents are going to take their kids to see a 3-hour movie, but she's like, I want to go see it before all my friends. So we're trying to build that into our schedule tonight. But then I run the risk of she's going to be cranky tomorrow morning and not get a lot of sleep and stuff like that.
Yeah. Nate brought up a good point just about like kids being or like not raising a spoiled kid, right? While kind of giving them like everything you're doing, I think it's just so how you're talking about it, I think is so good. It brings me back to one of the first times that we ever went live. I think it was Mohit that had jumped on and had asked that question. And I think more or less was like, hey, I'm really rich. I have a kid. How do I not make him spoiled? And I was like, all right, well, we're going to have a conversation. I was like, we're not experts right now, but let's definitely talk about this. So,
and I think he offers, I remember that like 1,010%. I remember like, he was like, because it's all about like perspective, and like his example was like, do I have my son sit and coach while I'm in first class to sit with like more regular like travelers that maybe not like travel so much and stuff. And I thought that was like really thoughtful to think like, in my daily life, how can I change this? And then my mind immediately thought of like, there's some kids that like never even have flown before, but it's like, if you're going on a long trip, you're not gonna be like, all right, I'm taking the airplane, you bicycle there. But
wait, that's actually a really good point. I didn't like, sometimes you need that person that has perspective, and that was just so good. It's like, okay, should my kid like be in first class or should my kid be in coach? And like, what should I end up doing? But that's such a good point of like, some kids aren't even flying right now. So like, despite where your kid is sitting, they're already privileged. So it's up to you where you want to make that in your life. That's a good point. I actually didn't think about that for a second. That was awesome.
Do you guys remember your first airplane ride?
First one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I remember when I was younger, because my whole family, like, so we moved to California, but my whole family was and still mostly is in Arizona. So when I was younger, we would fly back and forth so much that I like had the whole like Southwest stewardess like speech memorized as like a kid, like growing, you know, like
awesome.
In the 6, 7, 8 range. Like I could, you know, tell you where all the exits are and quote that whole thing. I mean, it's obvious now, more obvious now, having flown so many more times, but like that so no, I don't remember my first flight, but I remember it was a pretty like avid or always flying.
My parents shipped me to Hawaii when I was 16, and I really don't remember going on an airplane before that. And I'm trying to think like, did I?
Did they ship you to Hawaii?
My aunt lived out there, and they let me go live out there for a year, but I got kicked out after 6 months. But
wow, okay. I was gonna say my first solo trip was my mom shipped me and my sister to my grandmother in Arkansas. So yours is a little bit of an upgrade. But yeah, it was very fun out there. She had a farm, animals, horses, goats, all that stuff.
That's awesome.
Got to experience my first tick.
Oh no.
Yeah, ticks aren't really a thing for you guys out there, right?
Not here, no. I've never had one since that. Like it was just like a one and done, like as a teenager. So
I feel like
if you live in a place where ticks are a regular thing, I'm so sorry.
It is kind of weird to think about. It's like ticks everywhere. You're like definitely checking everywhere. I found ticks in places where you wouldn't want to find ticks. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think one was on my cheeks, not these cheeks.
Well, we're
Yeah,
gonna.
we don't allow those here in California. We check those at the border.
All right, guys. I have to run for a client, but it's top of the hour anyway. Good discussion about courage. If you guys have a chance, just maybe ask your kids and see if it's something that they are able to kind of talk about. What hard discussions did they have? But more importantly, I think about one way maybe you can like model courage for your kids. If you want to try something new, have a hard conversation, right? Simply be present, I think, in moments when it's definitely tough. But share your stories with them, I think, is important. But also, I think, share it with us. I'd love to hear maybe what you guys are doing. Cool.
Love it. Hearts of gratitude, mugs of coffee. Have a good day, everybody.
See you guys.
Talk to you guys. Bye.